This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points, presented by Community Coffee, official coffee of the Houston Texans. Also sponsored by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by your Houston area Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Amegy, the official business bank of the Houston Texans.
Let's go, bro. What we got, man? Hey, 1, 2, 3.
And here's a pick. The Texans have the rock.
Here comes pressure. He's going to go down.
Touchdown, Houston. Rock and roll.
Texans and Cowboys week. Throw out all the records. Well, sort of. But hey, we're gonna go with that anyways. This is Texans Extra Points. My name is Drew Dougherty, and look who we got here. We got Brandon Scott from Sports Radio 610 and Cecil Shorts III. Played football here, played football in Jacksonville and Tampa as well for about a decade, and now he's a coach. But we have much to discuss. You all ready?
Let's do it.
All right, before we get into that, we got to give you a layout of what's going to happen today. There's been a change at quarterback. There's been a position change on defense. We're going to get into players to watch as well as keys to the game. But let's start with the big news of the week. I suppose it's Davis Mills. He's going to be the starter at quarterback. Not a big shock if you saw what was going on the last 2 weeks out on the field, if you heard Lovie Smith on Monday in the press conference. Let's start with you. Let's answer this question or complete this sentence. Davis Mills, I just need you to
do your job.
Okay.
Just do your job. I think at this point, given the performances we've seen from Davis Mills and Kyle Allen, I don't think it's reasonable to expect much. But at bare minimum, you could expect them to do their job and not do too much. And I think that's what the coaches are going to ask of them as well. And I would add to that, in addition to do your job, also have a little fun. Let's be honest about it. It could not get a lot worse. What led to Davis Mills getting benched in the first place was poor play. Yeah. What's led to him getting back on the field in place of Kyle Allen is poor play. Go out there, don't be too tense and take it too seriously. Right. Go out there, have fun, and do your job.
You know, that's a really good point. It's not been brought up at all this season because it's not been a fun season, but how valid is that? Have some fun as long as, in addition to what you're doing out there.
It's very important, but I would add to having fun, and it kind of comes with it. When you're a confident guy, when you're playing out there, you're having fun because you know what you're doing, you know where you want to go with the football, you have an idea what the defense is doing, you have some chemistry with your guys. So it's so important for a quarterback or any player to have a good time while you're out there. But when you're having a good time, let's be confident in your throws. Let's be confident going down the field, trusting your receivers, trusting your offensive line, and just going out there and balling.
Yeah, no doubt. And they're going to have to run the ball, the Texans, because you know the Cowboys can run the ball with Pollard, with Elliott, or with Elliott and with Pollard, whichever way you want to go with that. Those guys are good. Texans got a little something, though, with Dameon Pierce. How much must they match that Dallas run game?
It's going to be hard to match because they're a good 1-2 punch, in my opinion. So you have two guys that can excel, that can get 100 yards in any game, that can be effective in the passing game and the running game. It's going to be hard to match, but I think the touches for Dameon can only be in the run game. It got to be in the pass game, too. So when Davis is back there, you don't see him down the field. Okay, where's your check down? Hit Dameon because Dameon's going to run hard. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to run somebody over, get some extra yards. So the more touches he gets, that's how you can match the production that you get from Pollard and Zeke.
Yeah, I think Cecil's right. It's going to be tough to match that 1-2 punch that Pollard and Zeke provide. You got Dameon Pierce. You could be expecting a lot of Daria Ngubawale or Eno Benjamin, somebody that they just picked up recently off waivers to be able to match that. But I think it's more important not just to try to match what the Cowboys are doing, but to go away from what it is that the Cowboys do well, which is that pass rush, which is make plays in the secondary. They got some guys who can also be got out there in the secondary, but also make plays in the secondary. And more than anything, it's that pass rush.
Excellent point. All right, let's just veer totally off topic because Cecil Shorts III is here, but Cecil Shorts IV is here watching as well. And it's fitting because my oldest boy, Robert, at home asked me this the other day, and he said, hey, Dad, do you think Dameon Pierce will be a captain next year? And I initially thought, no, he's too young. But then I rethought, and I was like, well, everything we ever hear from any of his teammates is positive. They all like him. And Lovie Smith has said time and time and time again, this guy finishes the way we all need to be finishing. Could Pierce be a captain? It's a pretty easy answer, right?
Yeah, I think based off of his personality that his teammates would just be drawn to him because he's got kind of this magnetic personality in general, like regardless of even the production. On top of the production, think about it like this, guys. Next season, and albeit there'll be new players that'll come in on this team next season, but think of the ones that are returning. Who's going to have more built-in credibility than Dameon Pierce, especially on the offensive side of the ball? So why wouldn't he be a captain on top of the fact that his teammates and his coaches seem to believe in who he is as a person and what his work ethic is like?
You know, you were brought here in 15 to be a leader on this team. So what can you say about maybe the possibility of him being a captain someday?
I would be surprised if he wasn't a captain next year, put it that way, because how he carries himself, how he's acting, you see him on the field talking to different players. People look to him for leadership. Even though he's the younger guy, he's a rookie, 4th-round draft pick, he's the best player on offense right now. People look at him to make plays. They look at him for when things get tough. How is he going to respond? And that's going to carry over to next year. He's going to be more confident. He's going to come in. He's not a rookie anymore. He's a veteran now. He's going to come in like, hey, I'm a playmaker. I belong in this league. And God's going to look to him to make plays, and that naturally builds leadership. And he already has different qualities that guys look to. So I'll be surprised if he was not a captain next year, if I'm honest.
All right, stick with us, because we're going to be back with more Texans Extra Points. But before we leave for a break, we've got to do a telestrator with John Harris breaking down some X's and O's.
Texans got the 12th safety in the history of the franchise on Sunday against the Browns. How did it happen? Great job up front, and then the cavalry come. Let's take a look at it here. This is the end zone view. So I had a great shot. I was standing right here behind the ref, so I saw this whole thing unfold. And the Browns are going to run a duo play. So they're going to try and get a double on Malik here. They're going to double on Roy Lopez here. It's imperative for the back at that point to find his gap. Now, when you get an open A gap against it, you got to fill it. So Christian Kirksey does a great job of filling that A gap right where it looks like Chubb's going to go. So at that point, the running back is like, okay, well, I got to bounce. That's his thought, because you're filling here, and Hanson's going to fill there. But the key is you can't get knocked off here, and you got to hold up strong here. So they do a great job here, Roy Lopez and Malik Collins, of holding the point of attack against the double teams. In particular, Roy. Roy holds up, and you see this here. And at that point, because he holds up, Malik does a great job of driving Conklin back into the end zone. Chubb runs into him. Now he's got to try and bounce it, but Roy's holding steady here. Because he's holding steady, all right, that play bounces to him, and eventually he's able to make the tackle for a loss right there for a safety. But what you love is Chubb is just about to get out of the end zone, but you're setting a wall here. Look at this wall. And then all of a sudden, you got Harris firing through, you got Petrie firing through, and those are the guys that finish it. There's Petrie finishing it to make sure he doesn't get out of the end zone. Great job at the point of attack, playing off the blocks, fighting off the double teams, and linebackers quickly getting in the gaps to finish the play, and that is a safety.
Watson under center, 2nd and 11 from the Browns. One handoff, Chubb running left. Does he get out of the end zone? Texans stop him short of the goal line. What are they going to call? Safety! The Texans D comes up strong and gets the deuce.
One guy that continues to make plays over and over again is Nico Collins. He ended up with a touchdown catch right here against the Browns. Now, the Browns are going to bring some heat, so they're going to go blitz zero, basically. They're going to go man-to-man across the board here. And that means Nico right there on Martin Emerson. So great job here of designing this, getting the running back, Benjamin, out in the flat, and you'll see Deion Jones bubble over. These guys are all locked up one-on-one, and as soon as Nico is one-on-one here, he's got to win inside on the slant. So he does a good job of setting Emerson up right here, a little slow-mo, getting him to bite on the outside just so he can get inside right there. That's it. That's all he needs. Now stick that ball on him. Now this ball's a little bit behind him, but Nico is able to make the adjustment right there, snatch it, and get the touchdown right there. That's how you win against man coverage. Just take a look here. You won't be able to see Nico until the very end where he pops into the screen here at the end. But you can see where this ball is and where Nico's got to go to get it, go snatch it, catch it, touchdown. Nico Collins is developing right now as a bona fide number 1 wide receiver for this organization. And that gives us a lot of hope going forward. This passing game can get better and better with number 12 being your guy.
Allen gets the snap. Allen looking, throwing to the end zone, and caught! Nico Collins, touchdown, Houston. Over the middle. Nico with the reception for the score.
Wow. that is cool. Oh my God. Thank you. Oh, God, you made the trip. What's up? How you doing? for me to be chosen out of a bunch of guys that's deserving of it, it's truly an honor. It's truly a blessing.
We're back, and Christian Kirksey is the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee from the Houston Texans. A very fitting honor for him. Very cool to see Kirksey get recognized for all the stuff he's done in the community, the stuff he did for Uvalde, and the shootings there. Brandon Scott, Cecil Shorts III, good to be with you folks. Let's talk about a position change. We mentioned the one with, or the switch with Davis Mills earlier, but this has been a shift position-wise for Jalen Petrie. He's playing more free safety now over the last few weeks. Looks a lot more comfortable, playing a little bit better. How big has this switch been for him in your eyes?
It's been humongous. I mean, you've seen him in the right place at the right times. Even when he drops interceptions, he's in the right place. He feels confident back there. He's able to see the whole field, and he's roaming. He's getting to the right spots at the right time. It seems like a more natural position for him. Not that he wasn't good closer to the box. He can do that as well, do that in college, but it seems like he likes to see the field, observe the quarterback, read the quarterback's eyes, and you can tell he's been watching film. So he's doing a good job back there. I've been impressed.
And this can kind of affect things moving forward as far as what the Texans plan to do in the draft, what they plan to do in free agency, don't you think?
Right. Well, and I think specifically for Petrie, it's a testament when you're talking about player evaluation of trying to figure out what is the difference between what a player offered you in college and how transferable is that to what they're going to do in the pros, both through your scheme, through how their skill set specifically translate to what they can do in the pros. So to me, it's just a fascinating experiment of trying, because what they were doing with Petrie was very similar to what he was doing in college.
Yeah, where he flourished.
Right, exactly. So, hey, this guy was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, playing more of a strong safety, poor man's linebacker type of role, but maybe it's just that in the pros, whether it be size or just the difference of the speed of the game or even how he's oriented, it might better suit him to play in the specific role that they've got him playing in. So to me, it's just a fascinating experiment or testament to experimentation of what a player does well from college to transferring into what they do in the pros. But absolutely, it changes what they do in the draft. I mean, you think about like what different decisions they got to make. Let's be honest, guys. They got needs everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so
I'm asked like, hey, are they going to take a quarterback? Well, yeah, but you could go here and here and here and here.
What I'm saying is, it's at least good to know what a particular draft pick does well, to be able to check off the list, check off the box, say, you know, Jalen Petrie does this well. This is what his future looks like, so we can check that off the list.
And really quick, I think it's a credit to Lovey and staff for being open to saying, okay, he's doing decent here, but let's move him back to free safety, see how he responds to that. Because a lot of guys get stuck in, like, you can only do this one thing. They put a player in a box, and that's the only thing they can do. And it's like, that's not the best thing they can do. Let's try something else. So for them to be open to moving them around, it's kudos to that staff.
Yeah, you know, they've tried some other things in the run defense as well. And statistically, it's been a little bit better. It's better the 2 weeks prior. Now, listen, as a team, the Browns ran it really well, but Nick Chubb didn't get more than 80 yards. That's kind of a victory, I would say. What do you notice in run defense-wise? How much better is it actually?
It's getting better. I think it's a process. I think guys are flying to the football more. I think guys are more intent about stopping the run. In the NFL, in my opinion, this is my humble opinion, even though it's a passing league, you still have to stop somebody from running the football. If you don't stop them, they're going to win the game. And there's something about taking the life out of the opponent when you're running the football. So they're figuring out different ways to do it. Just you got to continue to be productive at it.
Yeah. I think Cecil's hitting it on the head. Obviously, Cecil played in the league, but it's that physicality of it that I think is easily to discount when you're an observer or a spectator like we are, and you're like, oh, why don't they just throw it 50 or 60 times? It's like, hey, that physical punishment of having to be responsible to tackle, being forced to tackle over and over again, it matters, even for tough guys like these who play in the league. So I think it's really important, but they have been better. The guys up front, Roy Lopez played his best game against the Browns, and Kurt Hinish and these guys who are playing up front are playing better than they did earlier in the year. And let's credit the linebackers as well. What were we talking about several weeks ago was how much they needed that linebacker play.
Christian Harris each week.
Let's go the Christians. The Christians, Christian Harris, the rookie, and Christian Kirksey, the Man of the Year candidate that we mentioned, and the veteran. Both of them, I think Christian Kirksey has elevated his play from what we saw earlier in the year, and Christian Harris has sort of figured things out the more he's been out there. So credit to the front seven for improved play.
All right, I know you both love trivia, so wait on the answer, please. But Billy Miller, the tight end, scored the very first touchdown in Texans team history. It was against the Cowboys, the 1910 victory, week 1 of 2002. But there was another touchdown that night. Who scored the second touchdown in team history? We'll have that answer later in Texans Extra Points.
Hopkins across the 45, 50, 45 of Dallas, spin move, 40, 35. DeAndre Hopkins inside the 30, down to the 27-yard line. What a catch and run by Nuke!
Oh yes, the hop spins moment. Overtime 2018, the last time these two teams played. That was a big play in team history. Led to a Kaimi Fairbairn field goal. We got Cecil Shorts III, Brandon Scott. Let's talk about this Cowboys rushing attack. Ezekiel Elliott was here last time, but they've got Pollard now too. How fierce is that run game?
It is serious. To me, they have two, and you could say Zeke may be a 2 now, but Pollard to me is a number 1. I think Zeke still has some number 1 in him, and Pollard can be a 3-down back if they really wanted to. He's excelling outside of the backfield. Can go out and run routes. He can catch a hitch. He can catch a slant. He can run any route against a backer or a safety. And then you got the pounder. You got Zeke, who is still Zeke in my opinion. He's fading a little bit, but he's still Zeke in my opinion.
Though. He looks fresh,
well, that's the thing. When he's fresh, when you have a guy like Pollard, takes that pounding off of you. So Zeke is probably happy. Like, yeah, come on, Pollard, get your touches. You get about 16, 17. I get about 16, 17, and we'll go from there. But they are dynamic. They are the best running back duo. They're the best running back duo in the league, in my opinion. And it's going to be a handful to stop this week.
Yeah, I think the part that he's mentioning about Zeke and sort of the reemergence, because here's the honest truth of it. If we've been watching the Cowboys for a little while now, Tony Pollard has arrived. He's arrived. We knew who Tony Pollard was coming into this season, but now the reemergence of Zeke adds a whole new dynamic to it because, earlier in the season there was a lot of question, is Zeke washed? Does he still have anything left in the tank? And as Cecil was saying, is telling you, like, it's not just opinion. You look at the tape, you watch it play, it's clear they've got 2 dynamic running backs, and that to me is what changes the whole dynamic of what they've got going on from a rushing standpoint.
All right, another complete this sentence. Dak Prescott this season has...
He's been pretty good. He's been okay.
He's been pretty good.
He's been okay. He's been okay. So the thing about Dak that is he is remarkably unremarkable, I think is a great way to describe Dak. And it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but honestly, I think it serves him well and serves that team well that Dak. There's 6 games over 500. Dak's got a heck of a contract. He's really rich. And on top of all of that, like there's a redeeming quality of knowing how to play within yourself. And for the most part, Dak does this, with some exceptions. But Dak has this redeeming quality of being able to play within himself and knowing not to go outside of that. And I think that serves the team well and serves him well on top of it.
I agree. Dak has been solid, but he's going to turn the ball over.
Okay,
The last 4 weeks, he's had 5 interceptions. He's going to find a way to give us the ball some type of way. So that kind of makes me excited about this week, even though he's been doing enough, But you have that backfield, you have those weapons outside, the offensive line, and the defense doesn't have to do too much.
All right, let's stick with you. Who's your Texan to watch against the Cowboys?
Jalen Petrie.
Okay.
I want to see him continue to ascend, and he's going to get tested this week. You have a good weapon or good weapons in the wide receiver room, the tight end room with Schultz. So I want to see him continue to ascend and see if he can make any of those. Dak can give you opportunities, so let's see if he can take advantage.
Yeah, I love that. And since he took Jalen Petrie, I was going to go with Jalen Petrie as well. But since he took that one, I'll just go Steven Nelson. And I'm taking it also as just an opportunity to shout out Steven Nelson for his play overall this season. If we just get an opportunity to say kudos to Steven Nelson in what's been a really tough season for the Texans, Steven Nelson has been a bright spot.
I'll go just like last week with Christian Harris. He's going to get tested in the ground game, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, we've got keys to a victory after the break, plus the trivia answer. Don't move a muscle. Texans Extra Points rolls on.
Texans Extra Points, presented by Community Coffee, official coffee of the Houston Texans. Also sponsored by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans. And by Mattress Firm, the official sleep partner of the Houston Texans.
We're back, and if you answered Corey Bradford to the Texans trivia question, you win because Billy Miller had the first touchdown in team history, and then Corey Bradford in the fourth quarter gave him the lead 17-10 with the 65-yarder, and our pal Seth Payne wrapped things up, sacking Quincy Carter for the safety. All right, Cecil, Brandon, we got to get some keys to a victory for the Texans against Dallas. What do you got? Which two must the Texans do for a win?
I think it's obvious, stopping the run.
Okay.
Figuring out a way. I don't care if you got to put 9 people in the box. Figure out a way to stop that rushing attack from doing what they do. But secondly, I think on the offensive side, the screen game is so important. When they're rushing up the field, when Micah Parsons, Lawrence, whoever else is coming up the field, to beat the pass rush is a good screen game, whether it's to the running back or to the receivers, to slow that pass rush down some type of way the best you can.
Good.
Yes, Cecil was a lot more specific about it than I was going to be. I was going to say generally to neutralize the pass rush and for all of the things, do all of the things that Cecil just said. Screen game, hey, this is going to be a big game for guys like Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard, the big money guys on the offensive line, and quite frankly, their best performers on the offensive line so far. So that'll just be an interesting matchup to watch regardless, but that's going to be huge for the Texans, neutralizing the Cowboys pass rush. And then obviously taking care of the football. What have we seen so much over the last few games? I mean, Kyle Allen over the last couple of games was 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's out of there, but Davis Mills is back in. You saw him give up a pick 6 on the second play of the game the last time that he was out there. So you just can't have that. You're not going to be able to have a chance at all if you're giving away the football and giving up points to the defense early on in the game. So at the very least, do your job.
I'll double down on that. In each of the last 4 games, the Texans have turned the ball over 2 more times than their opponents. They're -2 turnover differential, and they've sunk all the way to the bottom of the league. So I'll go with these guys. Be safe with the football, get some takeaways, and let's get 100 yards from Dameon Pierce. He's capable if he does that. And those 2 things and all those 4 things that I mentioned, rolling home with victory number 2 of the season. All right, Cecil, Brandon, thank you so much for the time. It's always good to be with you, and we appreciate you watching here on Texans Extra Points. We'll see you again in a week. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.